I'm so excited about making this video right now. I don't like the location I'm filming at. I don't like the outfit I'm wearing right now. And I don't even have styled my hair, but things cannot always be perfect and it's okay. We have to cope with it and do the best out of every situation. That's the way life goes. And if you don't want to accept it, you are going to have more failure than success. Hello, boys and girls. Happy New Year to everyone I haven't seen until now. I haven't posted a video since it's January 2022, actually, so Happy New Year to everyone. I wish you all the best. I'm so excited about today's video. I'm really lucky to film it. Today's topic is going to be about learning Chinese. Yeah, learning Chinese. And I decided you know, to talk about my personal experience and especially why I haven't become fluent in talking Chinese in about 6 months. Because there's a lot of advertisement, online on YouTube, how to learn any language in 6 months and how I got fluent in 6 months and how I did this and how I did this, but nobody really talks about why they didn't become fluent in 6 months. So I really think I'm the first person who will talk about why I didn't master Chinese in 6 months. So, first of all, I want to say that everyone is an individual and everyone's problems are individual. But when it comes to learning languages, I really feel like there's some basic groups that you can put people inside. There's some basic groups of people who have this problem and some basic groups of people who have this problem, and that might be the reason why they couldn't progress in a certain time in a certain language. Especially when it comes to Chinese, a lot of people say that it is the most difficult language that they ever learned. you know I personally speak, I think I already speak six language. Yes, I already speak around, let me count: German, English, French, Dutch, Lingala. Yes, I speak around six languages. But when it comes to Chinese, I had so much difficulties. And yeah, today we're going to talk about why. I started learning Chinese for the first time with that kind of applications that everyone knows who ever wanted to start learning Chinese. These applications like Hello Chinese and the one with the panda on it. I don't know the name, but you probably know the applications. They are very popular for learning Chinese. And when I started university, I looked around for signing into a Chinese class and I got into one of them. I took Chinese classes at university for 2 years. This is where I got most of my vocabs from, but beside vocabulary, my oral expression is nearly zero. And this is one problem a lot of people face once they learn Chinese at university. We learn a lot of vocabulary, and my Chinese teacher actually was very strict and a very good teacher. We made a lot of our expression exercise in the class, but the situation outside the class that you will face will always be very different. Also, what you have to know is that your Chinese teacher is a teacher that is always surrounded by foreigners. He knows exactly the thoughts that we are making in our oral expression. If you talk to a native Chinese person the way you speak to your teacher, the native Chinese person will probably understand nothing because he or she isn't used to speak to foreigners. But doesn't matter what kind of thoughts we make in Chinese class, our teacher will understand us. And it will not be the same in real life. And in real life, you don't have the kind of situation where someone will speak very slowly and repeat themselves hundreds of times so you can understand them. You know, it's not really going to happen in real life. So, yeah, not being able to speak after taking years of Chinese class, this is a phenomenon that a lot of people go through, especially after having learned Chinese at university. It doesn't mean that our Chinese teachers at university are bad. My teacher was extremely good. It's not really his fault that, my oral expression is nearly zero. But yeah, you are in a classroom. The classroom is not real life. To learn Chinese, you know, there's like to really like learn and mastering this language, there's this kind of real life situation that is missing to most of people, I guess, who take Chinese classes at university. And yeah, another problem I faced during taking Chinese classes at university is that the Chinese classes really, took over all my studies. And most people I went with to Chinese class, besides learning Chinese, they don't had anything else to do in their lives. They were studying Chinese because they were preparing for a stay in China that was about to come in the next few months, but they don't have to study anymore for their general studies because they were done with their studies, or they were already working. And yeah. And yeah, being transferred to China for I don't know what kind of reason, and yeah, I was one of the few people who were coming to Chinese class while having to go to other regular classes like maths and business and production logistics and accountancy and all these kind of classes. And yeah, so the problem I was facing is basically that if I wanted to if I want to master my Chinese classes, I have to say goodbye for a while to my other classes. I have to make a break with my other classes, or the opposite. Sometimes I had to make a break with Chinese studies and so focus on my other classes. It was very difficult to make both at the same time. It was like almost impossible to me to make both at the same time because yeah, learning Chinese, was occupying like everything. It was occupying like really everything. I don't say it's impossible to study Chinese at university and having your regular classes beside, but in my case, I had so many classes, sometimes up to 10 classes for one semester. And, the Chinese class is like 5 classes alone. Like learning Chinese at university is, it's so much, sometimes it's like 5 classes, alone. So yeah, I have a friend who's going through the same or for similar struggles right now when it comes to time. She just started her Chinese class last semester, and I told her that it was very difficult for me to keep on following because I had my regular classes beside. And she said, once she started, she said, "Wow, once you told me that it's difficult, I believed you, but now that I'm in that situation myself, I see how difficult it is. And I really wonder how you keep being motivated to learn this language. Because, first of all, it's hard, and second of all, we don't have the time for it. And it's very discouraging. It's very discouraging," she told me. And so she asked me for motivation tips. And right now, she stopped the Chinese class actually. She wants to study Chinese by herself, by her own. Um, yeah, but the problem she had also is that you have to decide yourself. Do you want to keep on with your regular classes, or do you want to keep on Chinese? Once you keep on with Chinese without your regular classes, it doesn't mean that you have less work, because Chinese will occupy your entire life. This is the way it goes at our university. Yeah. Yeah, and so it's been years now that I'm that I'm trying to master Chinese without having mastered it. And so, as you can see, or as you can hear, I have enough reasons to say I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore, or I tried so much, and you know, I I can't speak, after having taken classes for 2 years, for about 2 years now. But I still motivated. And my friend asked me where does this motivation come from? Because she wants to study the language, but making this kind of, discouraging experience of Chinese taking over your entire life once you want to go to the class, and not being able to manage it, with the other classes. She really wondered, like, how do you keep this energy? And it took me it took me some days to reply to her because I didn't know what to say to her. I didn't know how can I reply her about my motivation. And after these few days that it took me to reply to her, I told her, "Girl, I personally don't have any motivation at all. My motivation comes from God, because looking back and everything I went to, looking back really to everything I went to learn Chinese, coming to this point of learning it for years without mastering it. My oral expression is nearly up to zero. I don't have any motivation that comes from me. My motivation comes from God. It like 100% comes from God. He's the one who gave me that passion to want to learn Chinese, and to want that I want to master Chinese. He's the one who gave me that passion, and he gives me the strength to pursue that will. He gives me the power to study, to learn every time I'm up to learn. He gives me that power because I don't have any motivation that comes, from myself. Even I really love Chinese language and I'm so passionate about it. Chinese is my favorite language. I don't have any motivation that comes from myself. So yeah, it took me some days to reply this to her, but that's my honest answer. That's my honest answer. My motivation comes from God. This is where my motivation comes from, not from myself. You know, and here we go to the next point. The love I have for Chinese language. I have so much love for Chinese language, and this might be a reason why I haven't managed to speak Chinese until now. This might be a great reason why I haven't managed to speak Chinese until now. The reason is I tend to be a perfectionist, especially when I really love something. I want to make it perfect. But especially when it comes to languages, how do you want to make something perfect while studying a language? Learning a language means that you're going to make mistakes. And you have to make mistakes to learn the language, because every mistake is going to make you progress in this language. It is the way it goes. But because I want to make everything perfect, because I love the language, it's kind of, it's kind of blocking me from really learning and mastering it. I think this is one of the problems I personally have when it comes to learning Chinese. And now to advices that I can give you as someone who has been learning Chinese now for years. And believe me, guys, learning Japanese and Korean, and I'm not comparing Japanese, Korean to Chinese, because all of these languages are different languages, But let me tell you one thing. Learning Japanese and Korean is not even difficult to me. But when it comes to Chinese, it is the love that I have for this language actually that really blocks me, to learn it, because of the reason that I want to make it perfect. And if you're struggling with, being a person that always wants to make things perfect, and maybe this might be also a reason why you cannot progress in a language, even if it's not Chinese, you know. But yeah, the advice is that now that I can give you as a person who has been studying Chinese for years now, if you're a person who learns Chinese at university, I really advise you to hang out with Chinese people, to find yourself some Chinese friends, but not these kind of Chinese friends who only speak to you in English or in German. I have so much of them. I have so much of them. I have so much of them. I have so much of them, guys. Believe me. Believe me. Chinese people who, you know, there are even some of them, I was so shocked about hearing them speaking Chinese for the first time, because since we met, I knew that these people are Chinese, but they would always speak to me in German or in English. Like, always, 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 always. Ja? J'ai tourné une vidéo. Tu dois pas le dire à maman et papa. I mean, they're still nice people, but yeah, it doesn't really help my Chinese. It doesn't really help my Chinese. So, yeah. But yeah, the reason why I tell you to find Chinese friends that speak Chinese with you is that you can be in touch with the language, but you don't need to have Chinese friends to be in touch with the language. I mean, this might be helpful because you can be in touch with the language, not just with the language, but with the culture as well. You know, that's the thing with my friends. Even we don't speak Chinese with each other because they speak German or English to me. Um, yeah, we kind of make a lot of cultural things together, and yeah, I get to know Chinese culture, you know, when I hang out with them, even we don't speak the language. But need you don't absolutely need to have Chinese friends around you to be in touch with the language. There are some other things that you can do to be in touch with the language, but the reason why I say make yourself some Chinese friends who speak Chinese with you is really, you know, because being in touch with the language is helpful. And you know, will have the kind of real life situations that you cannot reproduce in a classroom when you hang out with real Chinese people outside the classroom. And yeah, um other advices I can give you, I mean, this is an advice I gave to my friend as well, who asked me about my motivations that don't come from me. I told her maybe she's a person who needs the real life situation where she can apply things that she learns in books, you know, and yeah, being surrounded by real human beings, friends, etc., you know, can help. Yeah. But another thing, talk to yourself in Chinese. Talk to yourself. Translate your thoughts into Chinese. Like, this is such a great thing, I guess, to do. And I mean, you can talk to yourself in Chinese in front of the mirror also, but especially your thoughts, because we think all the time. But once you think, try to translate this thought into Chinese. If you don't know a word, two words, or even the entire sentence, go on Google and write down your thought in Chinese. Then you look at this and, you know, try to repeat. You try to repeat on what you just have translated on Google. And yeah, another advice is write text, write some text in Chinese, you know. Maybe your day, how was your day? Write it down in Chinese. You want to text to your friends about a certain story, I don't know, something that happened, you know, translate it into Chinese, you know, and learn from it. I really often text with Chinese people in Chinese, and what I haven't done until now, but I always tell myself that I should do, you know, is really learning from the text messages that we write each other. And I have some Chinese friends who have a very high, like, how to say, like, the way they speak, you know, the way they speak is like, it's like very high, very very high. You know, sometimes I go for our conversations, and you know, I kind of tell myself, wow, I should take these conversations and make them my study book, actually, my Chinese study book, you know, and yeah. I mean, there is kind of, I have both in my contact list of Chinese people. I have those Chinese people in my contact list who, you know, they make everything very short once they talk to you. They make everything very short, and sometimes they use some informal vocabulary that is very important to learn as well. And I have these kind of friends in my contact list. Once they say something to you, they have to describe it like a like a poem. You know, they have to make, you know, poetry out of everything that they text to you. And this is very nice to learn as well. So yeah, if you have Chinese people in your contact list and you text with them, make your text messages with them your study book. That's also a great advice I can give you. And another great advice that I have, it's one of my favorite advices, and it is the way I'm studying Chinese right now. And it's, it's something I really, really like. I personally really, really like. There are some YouTube channels on YouTube, and I'm going to link them down below, who make stories in Chinese. And there's a YouTube channel with a girl called Eileen, for example. Once again, I'm going to link all the links of these channels down below so you can have a look at them. Eileen, she made a video, for example, where she went on a market in Hong Kong, and you know, while she's like buying things, she talks to the camera and she talks to the sellers, and you know, all the conversations that she has, you know, are recorded. They're written down in Hanzi, in Pinyin, and translated in English, and there's some other languages with other sub channels that she has, you know, and it's super good to learn. And for example, the one video I'm referring to right now is a very simple video, even for beginners. There's some other videos where she has conversations with native Chinese people that might be a little bit intermediate, or you know, a little bit harder, but they're super good to learn. Even you are a beginner, you can go on these intermediate videos and these harder videos, because you can always pause the video. You can always pause the video, like always. And what I really love about the videos also is that every time a new sentence, a new phrase comes, you know, you can see it above. Like she counts all the sentence she says are count. You know, like every sentence is count, and it's so nice because you can know how many new sentences you will learn today because they are all count, and it's so cool. It's just so cool. And yeah, there are some, like Eileen's channel has, I forgot how much subscribers it has, but it has a lot, around 159 subscribers, I guess. But there are some smaller channels that are not that popular and a little bit more harder to find, and I will link them also down below. They make such cute stories, you know, in Chinese, stories where you have lions and mermaids, and you know, just like very cute stories, you know. And the same principle, there's a narrator, there's a narrator who tells the story. You have Hanzi, Pinyin, and the translation, you know, down below. And there's also, I don't know if I'm going to find this channel back because it's been such a long time I haven't watched videos of this channel. There's a channel I have found. Actually, they also tell stories, but then they are the one who break the stories down for you. So they explain the vocabulary of every sentence before they read it. And yeah, I think storytelling, learning Chinese for storytelling, is a very good method as well. And yeah, that's my advice, learning Chinese for storytelling. It's my favorite advice, actually, learning Chinese for storytelling, with storytelling. That's it for today. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you have a very nice evening, a very nice day, a very nice break. Doesn't matter where you are right now. May God protect you and be with you and guide you. Thank you very much for joining me today and for having this conversation. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment down below. Thank you very much. I see you. Bye.